Jamaica. Just a bouncing ball and put away.
It always feels great when you beat Trinidad, but it feels even sweeter when it's a World Cup qualifiers. Yeah, people, welcome back to Jamaican Fun, and this is the review of Jamaica versus Trinidad, and I must say, I'm absolutely delighted. We got 6 points from this September window, and I must say, even though there were still some issues with our performance, I am more than happy on how the boys did last night at the National Stadium. So without wasting any further time, let's go straight into it. We're going to start with the starting lineup, and as I stated in the preview, the coach I felt made the right choice. If it isn't broke, we'll fix it. It's the exact same starting lineup that played the game against Bermuda. But I also still had reservations about Russell and Palmer playing together in that midfield. But it also meant that Cephas got another start on the left-hand side, and in the first 8 minutes of the game, you could see why. He absolutely terrorized that right-hand side of the Trinidadians' back line, creating numerous chances in that early span, and he actually got his head up a couple times and playing some decent balls into the box. It took a while, but I think York eventually got the message across for them to make the adjustments. Then we saw Trinidad sliding across more to the right to more help of Cardines anytime Cephas had the ball. But up at this point, it was still all Jamaica. We were not allowing Trinidad to not even get comfortable on the ball. We were doing well enough for the pressing, and we were doing well enough in how we were controlling the ball. And we were still trying to go direct. We will try to find Billy down in the chance, but you have to give the Reggae Boyz some credit as well. We actually tried to do some decent build-up play this time around. But unlike the Bermuda game, we didn't make our early dominance count. We did not find our opening goal, and after roughly 20 minutes, Trinidad finally found their feet and was starting to find space in between the lines. But they only really became dangerous after some long throws and some set pieces. But it ended up proved to be the catalyst for sustained pressure from Trinidad. We were now the ones having a hard time to escape our half, and every time we just put the ball forward, it was just coming back with a red shirt on it. Trinidad was especially targeting down our right side, and both Dexter and King had a hard time trying to keep them at bay. In fact, I had my heart in my mouth for a minute when I saw the Trinidadian player went down in the box on display, but there was no penalty given. But the shape of the team never exactly recovered after that. As you can see on display, there was so much space right in front of the back line, which meant that it was finally space for Trinidad to find Garcia in the box. He ran down the right channel. King did well to track him, but I felt he went to ground a little bit too easy. Garcia gave him the slip before putting the ball past Waiter into the back of the net. At this point of the game, I felt very worried we would now be the one chasing, but the VAR referees came to our rescue. He was given offside as Lowe stepped forward just in time, but it was too close for comfort. It should have been a wake-up call for the Reggae Boyz. Trinidad was still the ones in control, and Jamaica had to do something to get back into the game. At this point, we simply throw away the idea of trying to build up through the lines and return to being more direct, looking for Cephas any chance we get. But as I said to you, the Trinidadians were not going to be fooled by it again. I was well prepared with their defending, seeing the ball going out for numerous throw-ins on the left-hand side. But one of those would end up being useful to us. We tried the long ball into the box, they cleared it, then Greg Lee, who was pressing high enough, got his header under the clearance, and the ball harmlessly found its way into the box, and I don't know what happened between Chimnham and Henry, but the confusion was pounced upon by Bailey, who composed himself well enough to get it shot off and into the back of the net. This was just further proof how funny life and this sport can really be. Imagine he created so many chances against Bermuda, hitting the post and his missing empty net, but here tonight against Trinidad, this was his first real look at goal and he managed to get it past the keeper. So 1-0 for the Reggae Boyz, and at this point I was feeling confident that we will get the job done. But credit to Trinidad, they did respond well. They were trying to get one back before the end of the half, and they even managed to draw Hayden into committing a yellow card offense, which takes him out of the Curacao game next time. Then they had another big play when they came down our left-hand side. Greg Lee was too easily beaten here on the byline, and they managed to squeeze a shot off at the near post where Wade had to be sharp. It was a reminder of Trinidad's tenacity and that the fact that we couldn't rest on our laurels. In fact, I was a bit displeased how open the game was in those final minutes of injury time. But eventually, the ref blew his whistle and we took the lead into the halftime break. At this point, I was actually hoping the coach make at least one change, and that was to take out Jonathan Russell, who I thought was a little bit better on the defensive positioning in this first half compared to the one against Bermuda, but generally speaking, he was non-existent. Well, Steve McLaren is the one that's paid the big money for a reason. He made no changes, and Trinidad started the second half on fire. They were coming forward in droves. Even at one point, they were pushing 4 red shirts into the box, and we were completely being dominated. The coach noticed this and he decided to make some early changes, something he rarely does, and we saw Dixon and Anderson coming on for Campbell and Palmer, who I thought had an okay first half, coming out of the game, which meant that Russell stayed in, but no, he was pushed further up, much closer to Bailey, and it seemed that move freed up his spirits. All of a sudden, he was influential, touching the ball much more, and even leading the first tackle in the line. But Dixon was the difference maker. Campbell up to that point was looking gassed because of all the defensive work he had to do to help out Dexter with Levi Garcia. So the fresh legs of Dixon was really pivotal in us getting our second goal. Now I will admit, when I first saw it, immediately I was like, nah, that is offside. But when I saw VAR checking the goal and they showed the replay with Henry making the big time error, I knew that we got our double. No, after this, for all my years of watching football, I've always heard the cliche that a 2-0 lead is the most dangerous in the sport. And honestly, I always brush it off because I always said I would prefer to be 2-0 up. But it seemed that after Russell's goal, Jamaica went into a state of comfortability a little bit too soon and started to switch off. That led to this big mistake by first Wade, then Lowe, that saw Garcia again getting a shot off in the box and managing to beat Wade to get back a goal for Trinidad. And now again in the run of play, I thought he was onside, but then I jumped for joy so high that I touched the ceiling when I saw VAR once again ruling out a goal. But we didn't exactly pick up our intensity after that. I guess they were trying to do the right thing by managing the rest of the game out, but when Trinidad is coming with you with such intensity, you just have to match it or you leave yourself up to trouble. But then the coach made another big move. He took off Cephas and Russell and brought in Anglin and Boza and switched the formation to a 5-3-2. And honestly, from there, while Trinidad had a few slight lookings into the box, we absolutely managed the game from here on out and were completely fine, even almost finding ourselves a third before the game was finally wrapped up. But anyway, I want to highlight some key performances from some of the players, and I will start with Greg Lee, who I felt performance will go under the radar. He was immense defensively in this match. He was aggressive when he stepped from the back line and basically won all his aerial duels. It wasn't a perfect performance though. There was 2 big points in the game that he almost cost us dearly. But otherwise, I thought this was a great window for Greg Lee. The other player I want to look at is Bailey Katamari. Yeah, he didn't enjoy as much freedom as he did against Bermuda in this game, but he did exactly what we want from a striker, which is to take your chances when you get them. And thankfully, he was much more lucky this time around. The last player I want to highlight is Richard King. I thought it was another great performance by him. He was very commanding, he was very vocal, and once again, he was near perfect on the ball. To me, there's improvement in his game since the last time we saw him in Jamaican colours. And the final person I want to look at is not even a player, but it is Steve McLaren himself. Look, we all beat him, we all did try to get rid of him after that Gold Cup disaster, but this window, I think he won back some fans. His in-game management and substitution were on point in both games, but the bigger picture that we entered the September window with morale amongst the fans and players at an all-time low after that big Gold Cup disaster, as well as missing 8 key players to injury, but yet he still managed to lead the team to not only 6 points, but 6 goals and 2 clean sheets. So I say he definitely deserves his flowers this time around. And finally, I want to look at the group standings after the first 2 rounds of action. We lead the table with 6 points, as I said, but Curacao is right behind us on 4 points after nearly getting past Bermuda 3-2. And we go there next for a big time clash and without Hayden. But we will cross that bridge when we reach, but for now, it's all about celebrations as we once again beat our fierce rival Trinidad in a competitive match. But anyway guys, that is all from this review show. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the Jamaicans' performance, how you think about the midfield. It looked a little bit better. There's times they play some good football, but still not perfect. But otherwise, please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you all up to date on everything on the Reggae Boyz leading up to our final game in November. Otherwise, for great Reggae Boyz content, you're already at the right place. Jamaican Fan. YouTube, big up yourself.